Hey, how are you? I am Chris Robin, aka at Detroit Beastie, here with Fantasy Six Pack to talk about Thursday Night Football. The Baltimore Ravens head to Kansas City in what is a repeat or a rematch, I should say, of the AFC Championship game from last season. Before I get into player projections, who I'm into, and where we're going to go, what's the direction for not only this game, but for the length of the season, because tonight kicks off one heck of a marathon, and I'm in it if you're in it. But before I get to that, as I said, go to Fantasy Six Pack and check out everything this website has to offer. High-end ranks, you have fantasy football cheat sheets, IDP ranks, and everything you can possibly want when it comes to the football season. Bets, DFS, even rankings. As I said, everything's at the Discord. It's a premium membership, but I think I've been okay to say this out loud. But week one across the board, at least for my content, these videos will always be free. But bottom of the barrel, which will be out every Friday morning, early afternoon, I should say, that is free in week one. And if you go bug Mr. Bond, James Bond, Joe Bond, maybe he'll give it to you free for maybe another week or two, as everybody's still finding themselves and their footing and their routine, right? Because when we get into a football season, if you're a fantasy football player, DFS guy or girl, sports bets, we all have our routine, our superstitions, and what's worked before and what hasn't worked and where can we cut the fat and move on. There's literally no fat to be cut here at Fantasy Six Pack. Everything you need is right here in front of you. So go check out the Discord. Go follow at Fantasy Six Pack on Twitter. Follow me at Detroit Beastie, Joe Bond. Dave Eddy, everybody's here, and shout out to Keith Fleming, who's joined us again for another should be, fingers crossed, successful season. When we look at this football game, as I said, Baltimore's playing Kansas City. And I was getting into, my notes and everything written down and what I want to put in my brain to send out to you. And it's all, not to sound mean or rude, it's all nonsense. All the stuff from last year is last year. These teams have rolled over, right? Kansas City won the Super Bowl. Baltimore lost in the AFC Championship game, as I mentioned. But not the teams have rolled over, and the rosters for the most part are still, solid what they used to be. Lamar's the quarterback for the Ravens. Pat and Travis Kelce are back with Kansas City. But when we look at, DVP, let's say, or what happened last year with all the sack, I think Kansas City sacked Lamar Jackson 4 times in that AFC Championship game. That's all done and over. At the end of the AFC Championship game, these teams and these guys have been cooking and rolling for so long, and there's momentum in place. This is week one, game one, Thursday Night Football. So all this DVP, personally speaking, it's all nonsense. Everything from last year, I don't think it can carry over, right? How the defenses were rolling and how they were, getting in replacements and, on the fly. Same thing can be said for the offense. These guys are creatures of habit, getting X amount of carries, running X amount of routes. And Baltimore has signed Derrick Henry, who's going to be a huge flipping factor, not only in week one, but as we move down the list. And so if you come to the videos normally, right, or I share little edits and I give you my notes, and it's like, well, we know who the major players are. I've said half of them already. Lamar, Patrick Mahomes. We look at Rashee Rice, maybe Zay Flowers. Who's the sleeper, right? Who can we get in on a last minute, just roses, all sunshine and rainbows, like a touchdown bet, right? First touchdown. It's going to be, let's say, Noah Gray or Jared Wiley, Peyton. One of those off the wall. There's no secret in week one, especially in this game. It's going to be, studs versus studs, two high-end teams in the AFC, 2 high-end teams in the NFL, and they are going to be, it's going to be clashing. So there's no secrets here. It's Lamar, it's Mahomes, Pachenko, and Henry. Well, let's start with Lamar Jackson briefly. I'll go over a few players, but as I said, there's no real deep dives tonight because what you see is what you get. So let's talk about Lamar Jackson. Baltimore's in Kansas City. KC 10th overall against opposing quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson, 17 grand on FanDuel, 11-4 on DK. I have Lamar 22 of 33 completions, about 240 yards, a touchdown pass, and around 7 to 8 carries for another 50 yards. So we know Lamar likes to get it done on the ground as well in the air, but I think there comes a time, and it might be the time is coming right now tonight where they're going to ask, I don't know if they're going to ask him, but let's say it's been it was floated around that, no sources. I just made that up on the spot. But they say, Lamar, look, we're got to get over the hump. It's our turn. Let's go win a Super Bowl. Let's go make a deep playoff run, however it is. And you have Derrick Henry in the backfield. So there's no real need to take such risks, running outside you got to move the chains. You got to do what you got to do. But Lamar Jackson, I think there's going to be it's not going his statistics overall, and especially game to game or seasoner, they're not going to come all the way down, but they're going to take a little bit of a hit, a little bit of a dip, because Derrick Henry's going to see 15 plus carries a game, and it's going to hinder what Lamar Jackson can do statistically speaking. It won't hinder their winning and moving the football. But let's take a step back and Lamar Jackson, is he still a slam dunk at quarterback? Absolutely. But if I'm going to be very picky about this, because this is what I do, every yard, every completion counts in these videos in our DFS lines. Maybe Lamar Jackson isn't the slam dunk on a week-to-week basis because of Zay Jones is a star, Mark Andrews. There's a lot of other moving parts. Still going to get it done. Don't cancel me. Don't drag me through the mud, because I think Lamar Jackson is going to take just a itty-bitty dip down production-wise. When we look at Patrick Mahomes, not much has changed. Going against the Baltimore Ravens, who are first overall against opposing quarterbacks, 17-5 on FanDuel, 10-4 on DraftKings, 25 for 38, completions, 270 yards, 2 touchdown passes, and I would say 3 to 4 carries for around 20 yards. So we're rolling here. When we look at the running backs, there's only 3 guys I want to mention: Pachenko, Derrick Henry, and Justice Hill. Actually 4, maybe a little bit of Carson Steele, since he's made the team, and he might rotate in and out a lot more with Clyde Edwards-Helaire on the shelf for, I believe, the first 4 games of the season. But Pachenko, 12-5 on FanDuel, 8-4 on DK, 14 to 15 carries, 60 yards, a touchdown on the ground, and 3 to 4 receptions, let's say, for another 20 yards. He's the one you want. He's going to move the needle, for the Patriots, the Kansas City backfield. When we get to Derrick Henry, and then I've always loved Derrick Henry. How can you not love the guy? He's a monster. He's going to run right through a wall, right? Derrick Henry, 14-5 on FanDuel, $9,000 on DraftKings, 17 carries, 70 plus yards, a touchdown on the ground. And this is a new little wrinkle, right? Derrick Henry, 2 to 3 receptions, let's say, double fingers crossed, for about 15 yards. He's never been a PPR monster, but it doesn't matter when he's pounding the football 20 plus times a game. 100 yards and a touchdown come standard. They come baked into his production. And I could see a case here where is there something to be said for Coach Harbaugh in Baltimore? And again, that last year was last year. Are they bummed out? Are they pissed about how their season ended? Absolutely. But are they going to take it upon themselves to really, pound Kansas City into the ground? Sure. I could see a case where Derrick Henry is the focal point tonight of the offense. Just so we have it and we're going to use it like a battering ram at the King's Gate. We're just going to stuff it down your throat. And Derrick Henry is the best guy to do that on the field. Justice Hill's going to work in a little bit, 3-4 carries, 14 yards, 2 or 3 receptions for another 12 or 15 yards. When we look at the wide receivers, again, I'm here to give you some DFS advice, some football advice. I'm not here to, lay you down on a couch and give you therapeutic advice, whatever a player has done or has not done off the field in their free time. Again, we have an opinion, or I have an opinion on it, and is it going to hinder what I think they do on the field? Yes and no, but I can't be be that mean and nasty and objective when I'm giving you the best possible advice. Do we care that someone is they're battling demons off the field? It stinks, and I hate to say it because that's not the man I am, where I would just blow that sweep that under the rug. But Rashee Rice got in some trouble over the offseason. But again, we have to learn to separate that. Am I going to buy the jersey? Do I like the kid? Not really. But on the field, $10,000 on FanDuel tonight. Rashee Rice, 7-6 on DraftKings, 7 to 8 targets, 5 to 6 receptions, around 60 yards. He moves the chains, he catches the ball. Is he the apple of Patrick Mahomes' eye? Kind of was at the tail end of last season, but that is still and always will be Travis Kelce. Justin Watson, McCall Hardman, not much going on there. You can make your own determinations. You can sprinkle them in and go from there. What you want on the Baltimore side of things is Zay Flowers. Baltimore playing Kansas City right now. KC second against opposing wide receivers. Zay 11-5 on FanDuel. DraftKings, he's $8,000. And 8 to 9 targets, 5 to 6 receptions, around 70 to 75 yards. Not that I need to tell any of you this, but we have to separate seasonal, all the folks, all the dummies and idiots on social media. We have to learn to separate the seasonal and dynasty advice from a game-to-game basis. Long term, do I believe Zay Flowers is a stone-cold stud? Absolutely. Are you going to run into folks on social media or at the water cooler at work who say, well, they got Derrick Henry, but Zay Flowers is, he had a good, you didn't know about him, but put all that nonsense aside. I don't care about, I'm talking about tonight, game one, what can Baltimore do? And Zay Flowers will be a massive part of the Ravens tonight and moving forward. You got to learn, as I said, to put all that dynasty and seasonal stuff aside. If you're into it, that's fantastic. I am, but we have to separate that, as I've said 25 times in the last 10 seconds. Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, took a little bit or big. I mean, I guess that's up to you to decide. Did he take a little or a big step forward? I think it was substantial enough where he's, 11-5 on FanDuel, $8,000 on DraftKings, 5 to 6 targets. I was going to repeat Zay Jones's projections. 5 to 6 targets, 3 to 4 receptions, 40 yards. He's probably, aside from Derrick Henry, Rashad Bateman is my 1B of who I have my eyeballs on tonight to see what we're going to get down the road in the future from this team. Nelson Aguilar, Tellen Wallace, Deontay Hardy. I could have named. I don't even know if Tellen Wallace made the roster. I have him in my notes, meaning I checked, so he probably is. But we'll go on from there. When we look at the tight end position, and to be fair, I've said this, I'd have to look back. I wouldn't expect you to watch all the videos I did last year and then, on a tally go. You said 27 times that you wanted to keep the video around 8 to 10 minutes, and we just passed 12 minutes because it's week one. It's game one. I've been looking forward to this for like a month and a half. When I was writing the notes, my hand is shaking because it's so exciting. When we look at Travis Kelce, Baltimore 7th against opposing tight ends, $14,000 on FanDuel, 9-6 on DraftKings, 8 to 9 targets, 6 to 7 receptions, 60 yards and a touchdown. Remember when I said like 2 seconds ago about separating, seasonal and dynasty stuff? Well, we have to separate. He's had a fantastically fun offseason. Him and his brother signed a massive contract for their podcast. Travis Swift, he's probably going to get married, as I said, at the end of last season, on a whim. And I don't care what he did in the offseason. We know this guy, he's a seasoned veteran. He's a Super Bowl winning tight end. When the coin is flipped and the clock starts, he is going to just put his heart and soul. I have no question about where Travis Kelce's heart is when it comes to football. So nonsense. I don't care. He's going to be fantastic. When we look at the tight ends for Baltimore, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, we know what we're going to get with both of those. Mark Andrews is a stone cold stud. Fingers crossed again, probably the third time I've done that. He stays happy and healthy. $11,000 on FanDuel, 6-4 on DK, 7-8 targets, 5 to 6 receptions, and 55 yards. When we look at the DSTs, I have Kansas City 3 sacks and an interception. Baltimore 2 sacks and an interception. You can squeeze them in, for some salary relief given how much they are on both sides. But this is one of those games where, and it'll come a time where DSTs are captain MVP spot. Tonight isn't one of them. Same thing with the kickers. Harrison Butker, Justin Tucker, both kickers are at the upper echelon of their position. But I'm going to be littering in, the positional players, other offensive positional players like wide receivers. I would even prefer, let's say, Isaiah Likely, in a flex spot over one of the kickers. Again, defense kickers in this game, you can sprinkle them in, but it's not really a necessity here. So When we look at the final score of this game, let me give you some recent betting trends, which are nonsense because it has to do with last year. Like Baltimore, 6-3 against the spread their last 9. As we know, Kansas City 6-0 their last 6. They wouldn't have won a Super Bowl if it was 5-1, 4-2, something like that. One thing that I did notice, it maybe carry over. The under has hit in 5 of Kansas City's last 7 games. At the end of this thing, when the clock is all zeros, who's going to win it? The Baltimore Ravens get revenge, and they move on to week 2, 1-0. Baltimore will win 27-24. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a fun one. Let's sit, let's rest, let's relax, because we have a long season coming. And again, it starts tonight, but Sunday, it's even better. So be good, be safe. Go to Fantasy Six Pack. Again, as I said, rankings, advice, projections, and it's all happening on the Discord channel. When you get there, tag me. Let's chat. I'll talk to you soon. Bottom of the barrel out tomorrow, and we'll get it. Well, let's get together again Sunday sometime. So happy I get to say that. Be good. I'll see you soon. Bye.